Think Robert Zemeckis did cocaine?
Oh, yeah.
Top 5, no debating. Top 5, top 5, top 5.
So the topical back with another video. I'm Strange Wang. He is Nate. Today we're doing top 5 movies about drugs in honor of Cocaine Bear. Yogi, you gotta kick the hard stuff. But before we get into that, he'll tell you how the top 5s work, and then we'll get into it.
He's going to start with his 5 and 4. I'll give my 5 and 4, 3-2, 3-2. Then we trade off number ones. We also have something called the Zemeckis rule, which just means that we both have the same movie on our list, but one person has it 2 spots or higher. We just save the conversation for it until then. Think Robert Zemeckis did cocaine?
Oh, yeah. Most definitely. What movie did he do cocaine on, though? That's the real question.
Back to the Future 3.
Yeah. There gotta be another one, though. Romance in the Stone. Him and fucking...
Welcome to Marwin.
Michael Duck. Yeah. Bro, he was popping. He was shooting heroin on that movie. Number 5 for Strange Wang is going to be Blow. Johnny Depp has a really good performance in this movie.
Go ahead.
What a child. Penelope Cruz is in this movie, and I think she does blow. And I'm not talking about the drug. But it's about how this white man helps Pablo Escobar flood the United States with that cocaina, that yayo, that everyone loves Coke. I don't know what Coke's catchphrase is. No, they have Coke makes everything better. No, Pepsi, right?
Something like that.
I don't know soft drinks, but I do know that this is a pretty solid movie. It's also educational about American history and the war on drugs and how that all came about and how it got put into the United States of America. And Johnny Depp, is good to see him not wearing makeup in a Tim Burton movie. So, gotta love it. Number 4, Up in Smoke. Cheech and Chong, the godfather of the drug movie, especially weed. We wouldn't have half these movies if this movie never came out. And this movie gets referenced in almost every weed movie ever. So, you kind of have to put in it by default.
Well, you don't have to, because I sure didn't.
I bet it's long. If you have any movie about weed, I bet there's a reference to Cheech and Chong in it.
I have one movie about... I guess I have 2.
The ganja? The marijuana?
I was laughing when you were talking about dope, because I thought about dope when I was making my... Or not dope. Blow. One-word movies about drugs. I thought about Blow when I was making my list. I've never seen Blow. And then I was like, how come I've never seen Blow? And then I unlocked this memory in my brain from back in the days when Walmart used to carry a much wider selection of physical media because people still bought it back then. And they had that like island,
Good days.
like the center aisle that had 4 sides to it. And they usually had like TV shows on like one end cap and like some anime or something on the other end cap. And then like the $5 movies in the middle. And I remember seeing Blow there when I was like, I don't know when the movie came out, but I was pretty young. And I remember seeing the cover, and it was like, you know, Johnny Depp laying one way, Penelope Cruz laying the other way. And I also had an aunt. It's debatable! I also had an aunt who, like, read a bunch of those really shitty, like, paperback dollar store romance novels. And I just remember seeing the cover to Blow and being like, that looks like the cover to one of those really crappy books that my aunt reads. So I don't think I want to watch that movie. And I've never watched Blow because I've just always thought the cover of it looks like the cover to a shitty paperback dollar store romance novel.
The movie Ant?
Huh? Yeah.
Okay. Alright, I didn't meet her.
No, you did not. So that's why I've never seen Blow. But now that I know what Blow is about and all that stuff, I might go revisit it. I just never think about it until I was making this list.
You waste our film!
My number 5 is the movie whose name I accidentally said earlier, which is Dope.
I thought about it.
Yeah, you like that movie way more than I did.
It doesn't have enough drugs in it for this list.
But it is very much so about drugs.
It is
like, drugs are like the driving kind of point of it.
I don't know about that. His character arc. But yeah, I know what you're saying.
Well, and that's probably why I like it, because I don't really like movies that are about drugs that much. People always take them the wrong way. And when the movie is usually probably trying to say something bad about drugs, people tend to glorify that one, which I'll talk a lot about when we get to another movie that's probably on both of our lists. because you still got to give good films the props they deserve. But yeah, Dope is really fun. I really like that kid's character and where that movie takes him, even though it kind of starts with him like kind of accidentally, wrong place, wrong time, made sort of a bad decision, but trying to get things right from there. So it's a pretty good movie.
That was a good movie.
Yeah. And then my number 4 probably has a Cheech and Chong reference in it. It's Pineapple Express. I don't remember one off the top of my head.
Neither do I.
But I think the movie's hilarious. I normally shy away from this type of comedy. It's usually not that funny to me. But Pineapple Express is just like this kind of buddy, like not adventure necessarily, but just like I don't even know what to call it.
They get into shenanigans.
Yeah, it's a friendship movie where like these guys have this friendship that one of them is convinced they've been best friends for a really long time. The other one is like, I don't know why this dude thinks he's my friend. He's just my drug dealer. But they're forced to go through stuff together, and they develop this fun little relationship. It's really quirky. It's really silly. And out of these like Judd Apatow-ish, like stoner, basically most Seth Rogen movies, this is one of the few that I can stand, and not only can I stand it, I actually really enjoy it.
Interessante. Number 3 for your boy is going to be The Dark Side of Drugs, and it is going to be Train Spotting.
No, it's Zemeckis.
Wow. Wow. Number 2 for me, this was difficult because they're both about drugs, but they're very, very different. And I'm kind of still deciding in my head, but because this movie has a reference to that movie, I'm going to put Friday as my number 2. A movie about the marijuana, because they smoke weed.
No shit.
And it's the weed that gets them in trouble. And then they have to run because people are shooting at them. Friday, there's just weed smoking in every single scene just about, because your second main character is named Smokey. He smokes weed, and Chris Tucker's fucking hilarious. Not only is this one of the funniest movies ever made, in my personal opinion, I also have a Post Malone haircut, 2016, personal connection to this movie, because uncle I had, he was a fucking character, to say the least. He was a Goonie of the Goonies, but 9 times out of 10, when I went over to his house, he had the same 3 movies playing, but this was like his favorite movie, and it was always playing the most, and it was Friday. So me, being in elementary school, watching Friday with him, I just grown this personal connection to it, and then watching it growing up and understanding the references and everything, I just loved it for a different reason. So personal connection. It's also one of the funniest movies in the world. Has a Cheech and Chong poster in it, and Chris Tucker does a impression of Antonio Montana.
What were the other 2 movies he always had on?
What About Bob?
Oh.
And
2,000 years later.
Stripes. Bill Murray. Big Bill Murray guy.
Stripes is okay.
Big Bill Murray guy.
Yeah.
That one didn't connect as much.
Yeah.
But they had like 10 VHSs. But those were like the 3
that he wore out. Yeah. So my number 3, I didn't really think about it as a drug movie ever until I had to make this list where I had to come up with 5 drug movies, and as a person who doesn't give a shit about movies about drugs. But this is another one of the best comedies of the last 15 years. Really funny to me, and when you think about it, is in fact a drug movie, and it's 21 Jump Street.
Yeah.
Literally,
Yeah,
the whole thing is about them trying to
That's
bust a drug ring.
Until you said a comedy, I was like, this motherfucker put Limitless on his list.
No, I wasn't gonna count like
fake drugs.
Yeah, I was like, give me something like a little more than that.
What's the drug in this movie?
I can't remember what they call it.
They're making it out of Doritos.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Cool Ranch Doritos. I remember that.
I can't remember what they call it. But yeah, you know the premise of 21 Jump Street. and you know who's in it. It's not so Slim Shady, and a really beefy guy that a lot of people think is very attractive. But
Apparently he's had his last dance.
Yeah, that's
recently.
what I've heard. But yeah, 21 Jump Street, it's hilarious. And you throw in the premise that it is about these two cops who are trying to like bust this crazy new drug that's going all over high schools and shit. It's really good. And it's also surprisingly funny because in my opinion they don't really make that many really funny comedies anymore. So I appreciate you, 21 Jump Street.
Here at Sound Topical, we're unfortunately poor, and this money you see on screen, that's CGI. That's not real money, because again, we're poor. So if you want to click in the ad eye in the corner, that video is monetized, and we can make money off it, so please go watch it.
And if you click an ad, we make more money. And if you really want to help, there's the thanks button right there below this video. Well, my number 2 is probably your number 1, which is Scarface.
I just looked, it definitely is.
Yeah.
It's Scarface.
Mm-hmm.
Scarface, a movie about the cocaine, coined the phrase yayo, as Tony says, Chi-Chi, get the yayo. He doesn't say it like that because obviously he saw his best friend chopped over with a chainsaw. So it's much more aggression in his voice because he got killed those pigs. Them fucking cockroaches. I fucking love that movie. But it's about cocaine. It coined the phrase yayo, and I coined the phrase.
What?
But other than that, cocaine is about selling it, doing it, and the trouble it will get you into and the dark path it will lead you down. The problem with the American dream in America and all these other reasons in it. How his journey, or his intentions are good, but because of the game he's in, it just ends in bad shit. It's in death. Prisoner death. He died, obviously. It's a very old movie. But just like this is the drug movie. When someone says drug movies, this is one you think about. When someone's rapping about drugs, they're rapping about Tony Montana. Every now and again you hear a Frank White reference or a New Jack, but it's always Tony Montana. And just to me, I love Pacino in this movie. I don't think he's overacting. I don't think it's corny. I never met a Cuban in my life. The closest thing I know to a Cuban outside of Scarface is George Lopez's wife and father-in-law in the TV show, because he's always talking about Cuba. And I smoked a couple of Cuban cigars before, but they don't talk.
Is this true?
That's true.
Anyways, I don't think he's overacting in this. I love it. It's one of my favorite Pacino performances. It has so much power, drive, motivation, underlining, which makes him act the way he acts in this movie. So I love it. It's one of the movies that got me into movies. This is my gateway drug to cinema. Without this movie, I wouldn't love Hitchcock films, indie films, Fellini films, all these different kind of films. It's because this movie helped. So
Yeah.
I love it.
Objectively, Scarface is a very good movie for pretty much all the reasons that he just said. I agree. I don't think Pacino's really overacting in this one. This was before he really hit that how crazy can I be on camera and get away with it stage of his career.
Go ahead and say, I know you want to.
What?
You're not thinking that?
She's got a great ass!
Yeah, that's what I was every time you bring him, one of us says anything about Pacino,
yeah,
you always say it.
That
so
movie's so good. But he's really like, in my opinion, I'm not going to get into Heat, but I don't even think he's overacting in that movie because it kind of, that one outburst.
No, he's fucking with him.
Yeah, exactly. Fits the thing. So, yeah. The only reason I absolutely refuse to put Scarface at number 1 on my list is because I hate that movie. And it's not even because of the movie itself. It's because of what culture has done to that movie. Sick and tired of seeing that motherfucker's face on T-shirts. And in 2007, I was sick and tired of seeing that motherfucker on people's MySpace backgrounds. Like, he is not a character that you are supposed to be celebrating. And that is what the film turned into. And I love listening and reading about De Palma talking about how he hates that. And that is not what the point of his movie was. And it makes me really annoyed and frustrated that people just insist on celebrating terrible characters. I'm not saying that there isn't empathy to be had for his character, at least in the beginning, because I get it. You came over, you were an immigrant, you and your people are basically living in tents under a fucking overpass. You'd want more for yourself. Who wouldn't? You saw a way out. Maybe in your head you thought there was no other way out, so you found a way out. But the movie is about how that way out corrupts him. It is about how drugs prey on other people. It is about how that lifestyle absolutely destroys the people who are involved in its life. And that is the message of the movie, not, I want to be like fucking Tony Montana. No, you don't. He dies. That's it. Like, and we remember Tony Montana in our world because he was a film character in a really popular and important film. But guess what? In his world that he lived in, nobody fucking remembered him. He is just like every other drug lord who just ends up going to jail or getting shot. It's in the news cycle for a couple weeks, and then everyone forgets the motherfucker ever existed. So, like, that is my issue with Scarface. It's not an issue directly to the film. But I'm sitting here looking at this motherfucker's face right here on this big box down here. Like, I'm sick of seeing that poster. Like, I'm tired of the black and gold one. I'm tired of the black and red one. I'm tired of the Rastafarian one. I'm tired of every single freaking picture of Tony Montana's face. I don't ever want to see it again. His haircut is fucking stupid. And also that movie has pacing issues.
It does have pacing issues.
But it's still my number 2.
Whenever I'm mad at you, that's what I'm going to do. Now I'm just going to text you pictures of Tony Montana.
Well, I'm going to text you pictures of blue waffles.
Your boy a freak.
Ew, that was completely unnecessary. Disgusting.
Well, thank you for that, McGruff the crime dog. But his number 1, my number 3,
yeah,
is going to be Trainspotting.
Correct.
I had a really tough time because I wanted to put this movie on here, but because I know the movie's so similar and it's like the downside of drugs, the bad side of drugs, Requiem for a Dream, I find Requiem for a Dream a touch cheesy with her eating disorder because it's about addiction,
right?
Not only drug addiction and the refrigerator coming to life and shaking. I find it a touch cheesy,
sure,
which is why this one worked out because it's more effective. And Trainspotting is a sick, disgusting fucking movie. I never want to see a fucking baby again after seeing this movie.
That shit is gross.
I don't do drugs unless they're free and given to me, which is probably like the worst thing to do because I don't know who's putting shit in them. But all my friends are old and they don't do drugs anymore, so I don't get free drugs anymore. Gotta start hanging out with the youths. Anyways, if there's ever been a reason not to do drugs, it is Trainspotting. But on top of the message, which I'm sure he will talk about more, the Danny Boyle directed this, right?
Mm-hmm.
His fucking editing style in this film is insane. His mind to have him be sucked down a toilet and the creative things he does with this movie is mesmerizing. It's creative.
Yeah.
It's new. It's fresh. And I don't know whether to be in awe of the great filmmaking he does or to be disgusted about what I'm seeing on screen.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a beautiful thing, him getting sucked through that toilet.
Right.
But
it's a metaphor.
The toilet itself...
His life is going down the drain.
Yeah. The toilet itself is fucking disgusting.
It's the worst toilet in London.
It's the worst toilet in film history, probably. Yeah. Like, is the toilet from Daddy Daycare, ooh, and then the one above that is Trainspotting.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, definitely up there on worst movie toilets.
Yeah. Next week's top 5.
Yeah, Trainspotting does everything that you are supposed to get from Scarface, except it's showing a different side of it. Trainspotting is showing how these highly addictive drugs affect users over. And you know, Tony Montana, he's a user, but he's a deal. He's a kingpin. I mean, he's not even just a dealer, right? He is the guy. But Trainspotting shows how, you know, this whole system preys on addiction. How really hard it is to stop using when you are constantly surrounded by people who are. Every single one of them in this movie talks about how they need to quit at some point, but they are addicts, so they can't. It's not that simple, and that is real. So I really, this movie, despite it does something that film can do. It shows you a bunch of real, really hard, true life things that happen on a daily basis because of drugs. And even though parts of it are really hard to watch, like the baby in the toilet, it still makes it palatable by this really interesting filming style, by having a really charismatic main character, by having him as your unreliable narrator and getting some of his internal thoughts and stuff while you're going through all of this. And it makes it a lot easier to watch this real life thing, because a lot of times people try to avoid really hard real life things because they don't want to admit that that's the world that they live in, even though it absolutely is. So I love Trainspotting for that. And I also really love like the tone shifts in this movie, because when you start off the movie, like, he's on the run, they're doing all their stuff, but it's fun. Like, he's this crazy guy. He knows he has a problem, but he still doesn't care. He's talking about how he's got to do what he's got. Like, even though he's talking about like how his life is shit, like, it's still really fun to watch. And the movie doesn't feel like it's really bringing you down. And then the baby scene happens, and then it's just like, this is and that is real life. It is all fun until something awful happens that is a direct result of what you guys have been doing. And it's a really important lesson, and that is why it is my number one drug movie.
Let us know down in the comment section below your top 5 favorite drug movies. Are you ready to see Cocaine Bear? I'm not, but I'm going anyways. And I'm probably going to really enjoy myself because my expectations are so low. But let us know in the comments below. You scroll back up, hit the like button, share the video, and subscribe.
It's not a game, it's a rich thing.